I feel the negative shift.
Corey, do you know when you feel the negative shift?
Yeah.
You have to say to yourself, should I really have to blame myself?
Oh, no, I don't blame myself.
All, yeah.
No, that's cool.
So where is that negative feeling bad coming from?
It's just...
And how do you deal with that?
How do I just, like, I don't know. I just wait until it subsides. And when I chill out, then it goes away. But it's like... I just mean, like, I can feel... It's weird. I feel negative energy when it walks in the room.
Same here.
In the space of me. It's weird. Oh... That
I know what you mean.
So that kind of feeling when you feel negative energy come through, I feel that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of more of like, I'm not usually like this, so it's kind of like my body is kind of, I don't know, it's kind of in this battle. Like, you're not usually at this point. You're usually more chilled, so it's like fighting to be more chilled again. So
okay, that's interesting. I used to get told, like, basically, if I didn't feel a vibe with someone. The thing is, when you feel a vibe, that means there's something very real about these two people, and it's supposed to create that natural energy around you.
Yeah.
The minute you feel something really heavy or uneasy inside you, you're like, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Who is around me? What is around me? And I really need to think about this. And that's when you have to really take yourself out of the situation. So those energy levels really do mean something. Are we still on the first question?
Yeah, we are. The next...
Man, you asked a very interesting question. You asked me why split mind poet.
Yeah, man. Like, it gets real in depth. Like, I was going to ask what in... No, before I go for that, what inspired you to start writing?
Okay, what inspired me? Well, I wrote poems when I was around 13, 14.
Okay.
And
is that when you first started writing?
No, that's when I used to like write. Okay, no, in my diary, when I started my first philosophical diary it was called Mini Philosophical Diary, and it basically started when I was about between the age of 14 onwards.
Okay.
And it's the oldest one I have, and it's basically the kind of the understanding. Wait, what was the question, so I don't forget?
What inspired you to start writing?
So when I used to write, I realized that I kind of felt like I was different from other people.
Yeah.
And I felt like there was a way that I address things and understand things that are beyond people's understanding today. Mm-hmm. And because I was sort of like growing and maturing at such a like speed in my head, I realized that at one point my mind is going to explode if I don't find a way to interact with these things.
An outlet.
Yeah, an outlet. And for me, my outlet basically became writing, and I started sort of writing like intensively in my diaries. But my diaries are sort of like, okay, I'm not like being egotistical, but like, you know how Darwin wrote about his voyage?
Yeah.
I would write about my philosophical understanding about different things from like the grassroots level of it.
Okay, yeah.
It's because I did intellectual history in my master's as well, so that sort of adds and caters into it.
Yeah.
And so now when I see, why I write the way I write, and when did I start, all of this, when I put it together, I'm thinking, I've forgotten the question again.
What inspired you to start writing?
What inspired me is me. I realized you have so much potent. You have a way of delivering things to this world. You are challenging everything on the go, and you're one of those people who wants to basically do a PhD about a relevant topic of today's generation. And, you're trying to send a very strong message across out there. And once I've conquered my mental health, I'm going to go so many different places. And I was like, wow, I'm so ambitious. I don't want to stop. Why should I stop? So I'm going to continue doing it, Corey. And I love it. I mean, that drive drives you towards the people that are equally being driven on that level with you.
Yeah.
And, you're continuously vibing with the universe.
Exactly
and
that.
Like I say, I've gone beyond monotone. I'm now just basically climbing different waves. And it's beautiful.
Whoa.
It's absolutely beautiful, and
that
I'm
was
not
a beautiful
stop,
metaphor,
man. I am not going to stop.
That was a beautiful metaphor. That was.
Thank you. Yes, this is beautiful. It is. But what inspired you, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't know, if I'm deadly honest. I just started writing.
Okay.
I generally, and literally, same with poems. I don't. Sometimes I finish I write poems. Like, do you know that poem I posted called Social Presence, right?
Yeah.
Do you know how long it took me to come up with a title? I finished writing the poem and I read it so many times. I was like, what?
You weren't writing a dissertation, man.
No, literally, I just write things sometimes and I just don't know what to call them. It just comes out of me.
It just comes out.
It feels like it's weird. It feels like it's weird to say, but I feel like I'm possessed when I'm writing.
I feel do you know what? I feel the pinnacle, like center point of what you just said. I feel it. Because do you ever feel you're possessed? Have you watched Winchester by any chance?
Possibly.
Okay, anyway, the woman just gets possessed, by a medium, and she draws out the architecture of the room that she needs to like design, and that's it, she snaps out of it. And I feel when I read my words back, I'm surprised myself, I'm like, holy shit, that is another level of profound understanding. And if I try doing it again, it ain't gonna happen, because I literally felt possessed at that point, and I didn't snap out of it until I really snapped out of it.
And it's I don't know, sometimes I write things and it doesn't actually make any sense to me.
Yeah.
But then it makes sense to other people. I was just like, what?
Yeah.
But I was just like, but if it doesn't make any sense to me, how did it come from me?
Yeah.
You know?
It's a question. Honestly, I ask myself that question all the time. But you know what? Then I get to read my words back, because I had that explosion, and I have to read my words back to really understand it as well.
I'm coming with a better question. I guess
okay, go on.
The question should have been, what made you take poetry serious?
What made me... Actually, that's a slightly more narrow question. Okay. Yeah. So, what made me take poetry seriously? Well, I had my favourite poet in A-levels, which was Wilfred Owen and John Keats. Cool. So I read them quite a lot. And then when I was around in April time this year, I actually started writing poems again, because I hadn't written poetry for a really long time, for years and years. And my mate Manjinder, so Script Index, that's the guy. And yeah, man, big up to Manjinder. I've known him since year 7.
Oh shit, that's so cool.
And basically, he used to go to PW, and he was part of it for about a year.
Okay.
And I was sort of battling my health at the time, and he kept saying, oh, do you want to come here? Do you want to come here? Back then, if I look back, I can't even remember where he was inviting me. And then one day, all of a sudden, I came down to PW. And I was like, no shit. I was like, all right, this stuff is happening nowadays. People are actually being creative. Oh my God, there's a place for it in West London, and it's right under my nose. And I was like, all right, I'm in, man, I'm in. And by then I had already established my Facebook page, and it was interesting the way I was doing it, but all new to me, man. And that's it. I basically wrote every single day from there onwards. And even the days I couldn't write, I was thinking. And when I was thinking, I was like, okay, I'm going to write the next day. So it was wicked.
Yeah.
And I haven't stopped since then, man. I really haven't stopped.
That's amazing.
Wow. So, that is the perfect narrow question.
Yeah. No, it only came up closely. I only discovered what the question was as you asked me the same question back, and I was just like, hang on. If anyone was to really find out anything, that's not the question.
That's not the question. That is not the question.
My next question would be, how far do you want to take your poetry? Because you do say you're can't think of the word. You said it. You want to take your stuff far,
to the next every
level.
Day to next level. So I'm gonna speak about this because hopefully no one finds out I spoke about this. So I've signed a contract for an anthology. Ooh. Which I am going to be working on, but that's just one thing. And the way I want to take it forward is I want to write a book. What kind
of anthology is it?
Basically it's an anthology of Asian poets. Oh. But the irony is it's from poets from India or around that area, and I'm the only London poet. But it's because the publisher is a really, really good friend of mine now, and we met through Instagram, and he adores me. So,
that's cool.
Yeah. So when that opportunity came my way, I thought to myself, Minnie, like you've got 3 book titles that you can easily, like you're working on in your head, and you need to just start writing it down on paper. So once I get my discipline, I'm going to start basically working on those books, and in the meantime I'm going to find like the perfect outlets for a book like that. And so with my poetry, I want to sort of take it that way, but send a, how do I say it, a very real message out there to people, and a sort of guide as well, to get a level of understanding about how to get yourself out of shit that the world gives you. And the other one, I do know, I'm sort of playing with this idea. Aaron James mentioned storybooks.
Yeah, I want to do a children's book, 100%.
And basically, we have these creative meetups in Hounslow, and it's with some good people out there, and we attend the conferences that go around. And someone in one of the creative meetups mentioned they had already written a storybook, and they were showing it to us, and they did it through like poetry underneath. And you flick through the pages, and it's basically all this kid loses his dog, or no, the dog loses his owner, and he's basically trying to channel himself all the way through London, but he comes through different obstacles and like is dealt with through poetry. And it's really beautiful. And I was like thinking, do you know what, it's not about just our generation, the future generation, and the few that are a couple of years below us. It's not even about them anymore, because we're doing this shit anyways. It's really about what we're going to end up teaching to people as the kids that are growing up.
Exactly.
Because okay, we get affected by what's going around us in the world, and right now kids are really not learning the right stuff via curriculum, and the shit that probably racist fucking people are teaching them, out there, like there's Trump obviously. Then I'm thinking, hang on a minute, we have to start thinking about the kids of our generation,
it's
like the
true.
really young ones. And if we don't, they're in trouble, but we're probably going to be in more trouble. So definitely a kid's book. And then I have so many other ideas as well that I want to work on. So there's quite a lot. I feel like I should have my own business with my own name, like patented, and like people should come, like I am the branch that people branch out of. And it's because I know the shit and I can do the shit, and I can really push you out for the same things, and create a network, like a web network for myself. And when I say web, I mean the
Web of
IT
people.
term web, not the social media term web. And it's that bow and arrow effect, isn't it, in when you do Webster. And it's basically you are at the root of a channel that you are trying to process. And because I can see there is enough medium and there is enough data and content out there in this, like around the people I've seen and I've met, and I know these things are possible. And if you really tie down together some of the elements that we have going on around us at the moment, you can really find a standard procedured way to make yourself a representative of something very big out there, and you start creating movements.
Yeah.
And movements are what we need to start creating, and it's going to start from the individual,
Yeah, of course.
So these are the things that with poetry I want to start doing. Creativity more than poetry, Corey, I'd say. There's more questions.
Yeah, do you think there's an importance to children learning poetry at school?
I mean, the thing is, it's not, I wouldn't say poetry. I would say the idea of being creative as a child.
Okay.
Yeah, and that comes through so many different ways. If we're not fully bound, if we have a curriculum, we're bound to, but to add something like that to the curriculum.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be beneficial.
I mean, they do have poetry in the curriculum, but it's not. It's you learn about all these poets that's in the anthologies.
That are anthology, and it's old poetry.
It's old, yeah, but it's because of who's the what's it, poet laureate?
Yeah.
I can't remember who it is, but I can't remember her name. I would love to be poet laureate. That'd be awesome. Could you imagine? You get to
give me a poem or something of hers that I can think about.
I can't think of the name. Oh, I'm gonna have to look it up. That's why we have Google, right?
Yeah, that is exactly why we have Google.
Who is?
Oh my god, that was so strong.
Oh, yeah, you go. You know. Oh, we have a new one. Poet laureate. A poet laureate. No. I'll show you. We should UK current. Sorry. I just typed in poet laureate and like this black lady came around. I was like, what? That's the UK?
Did you check her on Google?
Oh no, it's currently Andrew Motion and Carol Ann Duffy.